Life is often so busy, taking us here, there, seemingly everywhere. When you aren't able to make it to church, we hope you are fed and nourished by listening to the preaching of God's Word wherever you are at the moment. In the meantime, take care, and God bless.
Good morning. Wait a minute, children's time. So that means all of you just go into the chapel. Shauna's got this covered. No, our sermon theme this morning is children's time, a little time for the grown-ups to lean into learning alongside and with our youngest folks. So as Pastor Lilliard mentioned, I am fresh off of sabbatical, and I tried to live by a motto by, I think, one of the wisest philosophers of our day while I was away. I tried to just kind of take it in and really center myself in these wise, ancient words by the one and only Ferris Bueller. Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. And I think that's exactly true. It felt really good to settle into a different pace of life for a little while. It's something that's healthy for all of us. We can get caught up in the fast-paced nature of our modern existence, moving from here to there, and then what's next, and then what's next. It's good to take a breath, to slow down, to get some perspective. So I'm really grateful for the gift of that time to get away and to think and restock and refuel. So we are beginning our sermon series, Party Time. So I have worn my best party attire. You can't see the shirt underneath my robe here, but it is my first party shirt of this 4-week sermon series. If you're with us all 4 weeks, you can see just how creative my wardrobe can get over the next few weeks. I'll be here joining you all and maybe even challenge or invite you to wear your noisiest shirts or most festive attire to church on Sunday. We don't have to be all sad like coming into church. Let's be festive and have a bit of a party together. If the balloons aren't any indicator, we hope to have some fun over the next several weeks of this sermon series, Party Time. Well, you heard the lesson read by Pastor Lilliard, and I think, in fact, read again by our children in baptism as they were responding to this gift. Let the little children come to me, Jesus says. So what I have for you today are 3 points. I'm not sure where it came from, but it felt exactly right. As Pastor Lilliard mentioned, I am entirely out of practice. So if this was gonna be rather closer to 5 minutes than to 2.5 hours, as I hope you would imagine, I think I needed some architecture to hang these points on. So I have 3 points for this sermon, and number 1 is toys. Maybe you can guess where we're headed with all of this. Well, I was in my driveway just the other day, and I was, kind of sweeping aside the leaves and just kind of keeping the driveway in order, and I looked down and I noticed a couple of things. And so I present to you Exhibit A, and there is no way that any of you will be able to see what I'm holding. So I present to you Exhibit A, plastic junk. Now, our children often will go off to adventures. Those adventures might be at my in-laws' house, or even my parents' house, or even Vacation Bible School, or a camp here in the community. And they often return with what we have come to call in our household plastic junk. Anyone else live with a bunch of plastic junk in your house? Oh, those hands went up fast. My goodness. Now, maybe I have a more creative word for that on occasion, but anyway, regardless, we have accumulated a large amount of little plastic things. And as you can tell from the picture, these little tiny toys are just nothing. There's one that's Darth Vader, there's one on the right that's a mouse, and there's one in the middle that is from, I believe, a Disney Channel show from the early 2010s that no longer exists. And all three of these characters from different cinematic universes, if you will, all of them found their way onto my driveway this week. What kind of fun they were having in my driveway, I have no clue. I tried to ask our two girls, how did they get there, And they really had no idea. And that's kind of the way with toys. They just appear out of nowhere. They live for a season. They bring delight. They bring joy. They bring some fun. They accumulate, and then they're gone. Maybe into the woods, maybe into a snowbank, maybe off to Goodwill. But I want to introduce to you, before we move on from this point about toys, to Exhibit B, a sad panda. Now, this particular panda, living in a bamboo forest on Franlow Road in Eden Prairie, this particular panda is somewhat of a celebrity. I asked permission from my daughter Dorothy if I could talk about the panda whose name is Blossom. In fact, I brought Blossom with me this morning. She's dressed also in her most festive shirt, her best party shirt of the day. This is Blossom. Blossom has been to a variety of states in the United States. Blossom is almost always in church every single Sunday. I think Blossom has a better church attendance than some folks in this room. Blossom is a bit of a hero in our household. And Blossom was a delightful surprise of a gift. You see, my daughter Dorothy loves giant pandas. And the reason that she loves giant pandas is because of this little stuffed toy that I think she picked up at Barnes & Noble. She was just drawn to it. She thought it was cute or beautiful at maybe the age of 2.5. Now at the age of 7, it is a family fixture. It came to VBS just a couple of weeks ago. It traveled to California with us when we visited my family at the end of June. It will go to Spirit in the Pines when Dorothy is ready to go to Spirit in the Pines, no doubt. Blossom is a family fixture. Perhaps those of you with children have similar family fixtures. There's no guessing which plush toy will be the one, but there will be a one. And should that one ever be lost, or tarnished, or dropped in the mud or the snow, buckle up, friends. Who knows what's next? But the thing about this particular panda, and maybe different from the plastic junk that we found on the side of the road, is that this panda has meant maybe a little bit more than just any little toy. See, Dorothy has amassed a collection of pandas. These are just a few, I tell you. There are many, many more in the Fleming household. And as she's learned about pandas, about where they live, about their habitat, about how they're an endangered species, about how the only pandas in the United States are actually in 3 zoos on loan from the People's Republic of China. They're in Memphis, they're in the National Zoo in Washington, D.C., and they're in the Atlanta Zoo. See, all facts you know if you live with someone who loves giant pandas. As Dorothy has explored the world of these giant pandas, she's also nourished in her a love for God's creation. She's also discovered that she loves all sorts of animals, all sorts of creatures. She's also learned that she could explore a career when she grows up, working with animals, caring for animals, helping animals heal or grow or live better lives, or protecting God's world in a way that helps creatures like the giant panda have a better world to live in. You see, sometimes I think we see a toy as a simple piece of plastic junk, when actually for a child, a toy is a doorway into a different universe. A toy is a doorway into play. A toy is a doorway into wonder. A toy is a doorway into experiencing this world in ways that I think grown-ups like you and me have often forgotten how to do. You get a new ball. Maybe it's a different color. Maybe it bounces a little bit differently. And all of a sudden, the face of a child will light up in a way that it doesn't otherwise. But I'm not being paid by the toy lobby to sell you more pieces of plastic. I think the invitation for us, as those with a few more years or a few more gray hairs or a few more achy joints, is to lean into these little creatures rather than away from them. Is to see through the eyes of our youngest. What is it bringing about in you? What fun are you being brought into by this little collection of dolls, by this assortment of stuffed animals? How are you seeing the world in a new way? Which brings us to point number 2, play. Now, of course, any sermon about children's time has to have a little bit of play in it. And I'm going to set Blossom down so I'm not carrying her around like a little prop here. Wonderful. Be good. So, a few months ago, we needed some support. We've got some family living in town now or nearby, which has never really been the case for Hannah and me. So we called our kids' aunt and uncle, because both Hannah and I had commitments on an evening, and we needed somebody to help hang out with our girls around bedtime. And the person who decided to show up was none other than right out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, shared in a complicated way with Sony. I'm not quite sure the details, but Spider-Man was actually the sitter some months ago for our children. It was pretty epic. He actually dropped down from the ceiling. He drove in as Spider-Man, fully committed to the role and the costume all evening long. This was, of course, around Halloween time, and our kids were just ecstatic. This is my brother-in-law, Zach, who goes affectionately by our children by the term Funkle Snack. And Zach came and embodied fun for an evening. So what could have been a night with a sitter actually turned into an adventure with Spider-Man. What could have been just an evening where mom and dad are away and maybe you eat a little extra sugar was actually an adventure of something completely different, a memory that our kids will remember for a long time. A similar exchange happened later that year when daycare was closed for my niece, and my brother and sister-in-law needed somebody to help. School was also out for our kids, so I decided, Hannah was back to work doing teacher workshops. I decided that I would take all 3 of our children to the Great Minnesota Get-Together. Yep. It was something. But we did it. I didn't use leashes, but maybe I should have. We went to the animal barn. Our first stop was French fries at about 9:30 in the morning. Get there early, get some food in them, leave before the crowds come. That was my mantra. So we boarded the bus right here at Southwest Metro, and we got on the bus, got to the State Fair early. We got them some French fries, and all of a sudden it was the older ones, which are my girls, and the younger one, which is my niece, were in a little bit of a disagreement about what kinds of rides to go on. Our kids don't love the thrill rides, but they were really excited about the giant slide. And so I remember looking at this giant slide, and my niece, who's this big and feisty and full of fire, said, "I don't want to go on that thing, Gunkle." And I said, "Well, here's the deal, little one. Would I ever take you on something that was unsafe?" And she said, "No." "Would I try really hard for you to have a fun time?" And she said, "Yeah." "And if you don't have a fun time, do you think I'd make it up to you?" And she said, "You better." She didn't actually say that, but knowing her, she could have. We went on said giant slide all the way down on gunny sacks, and I was proud of my girls. They went on their own, and I went with little Jay, and she had a fun time. So much fun that when we took the next picture, she was just thrilled about it. But play is often something that we forget in our day-to-day lives. I think sometimes we forget about play in our work lives. I think sometimes we forget about play in our families. But sometimes play can actually totally switch up how a conflict might be happening. Maybe you build yourself up for a disagreement at work, and instead of going in end to end, you laugh about it. You make a self-deprecating joke. And it might be another way in. You see, play as a forgotten practice is something that can bring us right back into seeing God moving in the world in new and different and all sorts of inviting and life-giving ways. So when Jesus was telling the disciples, "Don't send the kids away," I think he was preaching to the grown-ups just as much as he was trying to preach to the children. He was saying to the grown-ups, don't lose that sense of fun, of delight, of play in my world. Don't abandon the way that these youngest see the world with fresh perspectives. Which brings me to my third point: surprise. Grateful for this time of sabbatical, Hannah and I decided at the very end of our time that we would take our kids to visit my folks in Northern California. They live in Napa, where I grew up, and have a pool in their backyard. So my children just want to be in the pool 24 hours a day if I would allow it. They would sleep on mats in the pool if that were a safe choice. They just love being in and out of the pool. But when the time came to return home, we said farewell to the pool, we said farewell to Nana and Papa, and Hannah and I had one final surprise up our sleeves. We got on a plane and we told our privileged suburban kids that we had what's called a layover. See, our children had actually never had such a thing as a layover. We've always opted for direct flights, and so I convinced them that there was a layover in Los Angeles, that we would have to get off of the plane, get our bags, get onto a taxi, and go to another airport where we would get on a different plane and then come back to Minnesota. We got up super, super early in San Francisco, boarded our plane, got in a taxi by a delightful man who actually went to college here in St. Paul at Macalester. Hannah always makes fun of me. I make friends wherever we go, make connections wherever we are. There's people everywhere. And when we were nearing our final destination, we said, "Okay, girls, we're here. Why don't you pull your iPads off, and where are we headed next? We're going to get on the next plane and go home." It was about a 45-minute ride in this lift, and this is what happened. I'll show you on video.
What? Oh, you did?
It's funny. Well, we're about there, girls. Okay? Get out and get on the other airplane. Or maybe not.
What do you mean, maybe not?
Where do you think we are?
Are we close to Disneyland? Yeah. Do you see that?
What do you see around you?
We're going to Disneyland. We're not going to another airport. We're going to stay at Disneyland for 3 nights. This is actually happening.
It's actually happening, girls.
We're gonna drop our bags off at the hotel. We're gonna go right now.
Right now.
Like, do we get to ride on rides? Yeah, today. In like less than an hour, probably. This is crazy.
Congratulations. If you suddenly and unexpectedly feel joy, don't hesitate. Give into it. Mary Oliver. Surprise is something that we don't think of all the time. In fact, some of us admittedly hate surprises. My spouse is one of them. She doesn't like to be surprised because most of the time surprise is something that went wrong. You got to get new tires on the car. Surprise, I was speeding and the officer's behind me. There's all sorts of surprises that are wrong. But if you're surprised by delight, if you're surprised by play, if you're surprised by fun or joy, give into it. Embrace it. Celebrate it. Throw that confetti up in the air. Let those balloons float in the room because that's the work of God amongst us. You see, I fully believe that it is God who surprises us with joy. I fully believe that it's the Holy Spirit working in our world and in our community to bring smiles to our faces. I think that is the work of the divine. I think that's Jesus saying, come, sit by me. Look at the birds. Look at the trees. Look at the sunset and the sunrise. How many opportunities a day do we have to give in to that joy? We miss a bunch of them given. But if we can catch one, if we can sit just for a moment with one bit of surprise, hey, it could fuel us for all sorts of times. Over the past 6 months, I've been writing a set of proposals. So to shift to something entirely unparty-like, I want to share with you a paragraph I wrote in one of these proposals. Nearly 200 pages in 3 separate proposals submitted to the Lilly Endowment, which funds religion across North America. Church Anew is trying to get some funding from the fine folks at the Lilly Endowment and their amazing work for Christianity all across the United States. We cannot thank you enough. And now that that's done, the first proposal was submitted with a no. But the work of delight, of play, of fun, of having a childlike faith is to lean through the discomfort. So I share with you this paragraph. The default settings of our daily lives have been chronicled in the work of some scholars that I won't mention. With a quote, we as late modern beings aim to make the world controllable at every level, while delight, joy, and experiences of feeling alive and encountering the world are elusive. Even more concerning, the default settings to control, master, and attain extend to parents' desire to raise their children in faith. And a quote here, in most cases, parents understand their role as tackling a long-term enterprise of planned work designed to achieve an intended but broad and flexible aim. I want you to notice the words like tackle, enterprise, work, and design. Parents see their vocation not as union or communion or fun or play with their children, but as a task they must achieve. Training a child with street smarts, preparing them for the best college, or teaching family values. Parents understand it's their sole responsibility, quote, not as a shared community endeavor taking place under the authority of religious traditions, but as family projects in which congregations play merely supporting roles as may be helpful. You see, many of us have got caught up in a story about raising children, that it's our responsibility to train them, to equip them, to help them have excellent and perfect and wonderful lives, when in fact I think the invitation of Jesus in the vocation of parenting is to say, sit down next to me, have a little fun, play a little more, lean in to some toys, and maybe, just maybe, be surprised by the goodness that is around every single corner. You see, God promises to be in two places, in the waters of baptism. We just saw it in front of us. And in the Lord's Supper. In these two moments, God leans in, not with something of a lecture, but with play. Come and splash in the water with me. Come and eat the best meal right alongside me. Talk late into the evening. Play games with one another. Delight in the goodness that is all around. And so I return. Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. Look around. Pause. Breathe. Play. Have fun this week. Amen.
You think about how you will live out your faith each day. If you would like to support the ministries at St. Andrew Lutheran Church, you can do so by having your credit card information available and then texting a gift to 952-260-9007. Thank you, and God bless.